Why, hello, everybody. This is Eric Vierthaler of the next episode of Sit Down by the Fire. I'm here with my next special guest. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Kieron, Shaun, and I'm happy to be here.
But I certainly am happy for you to be here too. And yeah, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be here.
Thank you again for having me, Eric. I'm really looking forward to getting this started. It's my first time actually being interviewed on a radio, so it's all exciting. And you?
Oh, cool, awesome. I definitely am very honored to know that I'm your first one.
First of many, maybe, as they say, but definitely happy to get started and yeah, excited.
Yeah, the future is always full of surprises. Yeah, like honestly, I never thought that I ever would start my own podcast, but yet here I am.
When did you first start it?
I started it in early 2023 it originally was just going to be a one and done thing. I actually interviewed Sarah Karloff, who is the daughter of Boris Karloff, and Boris Karloff is best known for voicing the original Grinch in the cartoon. He also played the Frankenstein monster, and so I interviewed his daughter. It was just going to be a one and done thing, and then afterwards I thought, hey, why don't I make it into a whole entire series?
That's really cool. And how long has it been? I guess it's been going for 2 years now. So
yeah, crazy. It's been going on for 2 years now.
Well done and congratulations.
Thank you, man, so much. But anyways, enough about me. How about that you tell my audience what exactly got you started on your journey?
Well, it actually started not too long after the pandemic, to be honest. I was working as a support worker, and as much fun as that is and rewarding as it can be, it wasn't fulfilling me in what I wanted to do with my life. So I decided one day that I was going to bite the bullet and go for the acting job. Like go for basically go for all the fantasies that are in my head and try to make some of them reality. And one of them was being an actor. And so I decided to go look for some acting classes. I decided I wanted to walk to the place to go look for these acting classes because I felt like I wanted to do like a manual. I didn't want to have to get like any like buses and stuff or any Ubers. This was also just after the pandemic anyway, so walking was probably the smarter idea. I originally went to the Bristol Old Vic and had a look at some acting lessons there, but I wasn't able to do the lessons that they had because it didn't quite align with my schedule. So in the end, I went over to the tobacco factory, the Bristol Tobacco Factory, and that's where I started my first acting lesson. And then flash forward 3 to 4 years later, sorry, I've maintained a relatively stable acting career. Like, I've been quite fortunate to get paid work, considering I'm doing it through the back door, whereas I haven't actually gone to university to do it. I've just sort of studied, read, watched videos, and kind of just threw myself into it that way. I've been quite fortunate to pick up paid acting work.
Awesome. Yeah. And so, it sounds like to me that the COVID pandemic really had a profound impact on you and your life, which doesn't surprise me. Is because COVID really did that for a lot of people throughout the entire world. And I mean, in more ways than one. And I mean, unfortunately, it had its negative impact on people as well. But it sounds like that for you, it sounds like it had a positive one, since that it really got you to rethink about, what is it that you want to do?
Yes, and it was very much that, like, we were all sat in our rooms going stir crazy, probably relishing of all the times when we used to be able to go outside and like breathe fresh air and just do normal things. And it's absolutely ludicrous how they didn't just shut down a country, they managed to like shut down the whole planet. And it was really like wide eye-opening to be in this situation, like when that happened, like COVID-19, 2020 era. But yes, because I was a support worker and I was working to help people with learning disabilities and mental health issues, I was branded as a key worker. So I didn't actually benefit from any of the furlough, if that was a benefit, or didn't really actually get much time at home. I actually spent most of my time at work in very hostile conditions because the people that we worked with were quite vulnerable. So we would have to be quite dressed up in basically like glorified hazmat suits or like makeshift versions of it. Like, it was it was nuts. It was really draining, and in the end, it wasn't the catalyst to why I wanted to leave. It definitely played a factor. I was like, right, all my creative juices are faded. No energy to do anything like creative, or no motivation to do anything productive. Come home and be quite honest, be quite sad, and maybe even depressed because of that lack of fulfillment. And once the bans were lifted, I decided I was going to make some changes to that. And one of the things was taking that leap of faith and becoming an actor. I was always very skeptical about doing it because it's a career that basically you're kind of successful depending on what you determine as successful. But for me, like the success is based on what other people think of you, not so much what you can and can't do. Because the more people that like you as an actor, the more bookings you're gonna get, the better films, theatre projects you're gonna be in, therefore you receive a better income. So ultimately, it seemed to me it was a bit of a popularity contest, but not just within the public, but within the industry itself. So that's a bit daunting. But then I decided to go for it and went for it, and I went in with this wide-eyed version of it, where like I'm going to be the greatest showman. It happens to be one of my favorite musicals or that I enjoy. What I mean by the greatest showman, it doesn't mean I want to be the greatest actor in the world, because is that plausible? No. Also, what's the greatest actor to somebody is completely different to another person. It was more of like the metaphor, if you will. It's like I wanted to be able to be that good that I could then in turn start doing good for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, it was just sort of like my way of like bringing like a conversation to a long story short. I'm just here to be the greatest show, and ultimately that means I'm here to be the greatest show that I can be.
Yeah, and yeah, and I mean, ultimately, it goes back to something that I've said a few times before, is that life's just it's just way too short to not go do what you want to go do. And I mean, ultimately, it's better for you to do it now rather than being at an older age on your deathbed wishing that you would have done it sooner.
100%, yes. Like you don't want to live a full life and have regret and resentment. You want to make sure that you went for those hard or like daunting or scary things, because if you didn't even try, then you're just going to be kicking yourself even more.
Exactly, yeah. And nobody wants to have to live a life full of regrets. And also, even if you do fail one time, you and then can use that as a learning experience. You and then can say, okay, this is where I went wrong, that's where I went wrong. And yeah, you can learn it as you can use it as a learning experience, just so in that way that you can grow as a person, and also you even can grow on the professional aspect too.
Yeah, 100%. Like your success isn't determined by other people's, not in every well, not in every caliber anyway, and you definitely to even like be in that boat, you've got to try, don't you? And trying trying in itself is succeeding. Like,
Yeah, yeah. It exactly. You know, reminds me of saying, I know I'm probably paraphrasing it, so yeah. So I do apologize if I get it somewhat wrong, but I mean the overall message is pretty much the same about how fall 99 times and then yeah, fall 99 times and then get up 100 times.
yeah, I get it. Like you can fail, you can fail, you can fail, you can fail, but at some point, like you're gonna get up, and then you're gonna get up again and again, and yeah, that's like kind of like the law of averages, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah. So, out of curiosity, was there like a particular movie that you saw that inspired you to get into acting?
No, in all honesty, there wasn't a particular movie, like film or series. I'm a big Spider-Man and Batman fan.
Okay.
Big I like in terms of like heroes. In terms of like Hercules was a big Disney film that I enjoyed when I was growing up.
Hmm.
Uh, I think for me it was more of like the highlight reel of my life is like when I thought about why I wanted to do this and wanting to do this. I'd realized that I've kind of always been drawn to being the center of attention or like liking attention, if you will, and always willing to try to play the fool or do various things where like I guess I thought I was just doing it to be funny, but there was definitely like some sort of calling like within me, which is maybe perhaps why I take to it relatively well. I am ADHD dyslexic, so reading a script isn't primarily the funnest thing for me, but over the course of time and through perseverance, I've got through it. But I think it was, a big anime fan as well. So like, when you've watched so many things and you've kind of like dabbled in different like variations of like the arts creatively, I think I just got to a point where I was like, this is what you want to do with your life. This is probably you could probably be pretty good at it because you've been playing characters all your life anyway. You just haven't been doing it for money or
Hmm. Yeah, it's definitely really a good way of looking at it, and yeah, and back when we were kids, we were taught, that we need to behave, which is understandably so. It's because you should behave, but it's like if we're to be honest, back when we were kids, like when we're taught to behave, deep down, we don't want to, but we are, and so and then I kind of feel like that even as kids, with that and a lot of other things, that we are acting anyway, and so and I mean just to be clear, I definitely am not telling anybody that they shouldn't be on their best behavior, and so
no message understood. It's more like yes, like as children or just as people, like we are acting like sometimes we act like we want to go to work, we act like we want to be there, but we don't. Or like sometimes you have to be a polite person because it's just part of being a good person, but on the inside you could be dealing with multiple like I don't know trauma, family problems. Uh, it could just not be your day. Like you could have burnt your like it could have been as mundane as like burning your toast. You left your keys inside your house. You're now late for work. Bus has gone past you and it's driven through a puddle, so now you're covered in rain or like crap. And it's just like it's not even nine. It's not even 9 a.m. and you've had the worst day.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, actors or not, a lot of people put on a mask anyway, since, you never know what it is that someone's going through. Like, they could be going through a car accident that they're recovering from. It could be a sickness, it could be a loss, financial issues. I mean, it could be a lot of things. And so reminds me of the saying that you really need to be kind to everybody, because you really truly never know what it is that someone's going through.
That's it, isn't it? Like the saying I like is ashes to ashes, dust to dust. You don't know the hardships because people don't speak up.
Yeah, certainly so. And I feel like that a lot of people don't speak up. It's because that they're afraid of that judgment, which I definitely do get it. But at the same time, people also have to understand that it's also okay to reach out too.
Yeah, like it's completely fine to ask help, and I guess it's that, isn't it? It's whether or not they can actually receive that help, because some people can be too proud to ask for help, and because they're worried whether someone would actually give them the help, and then there's sort of like vice. There's the other like catch-22. It's like, what happens if you get the help? Where does that put you? Like, where do you take it after that? Because you become dependent on that person for help, to the point where you sort of like, I don't know, maybe overwhelm them with or
Mhm.
are them with your problems, because maybe you have bottled it up for so long, and you finally had this outlet, this person that you can release it onto. I think, yeah, there's a few factors why people don't go for the help, but I think first and foremost they should they should always try, and it's not, masculine to keep it to yourself, and I guess it is quite toxic and like self-deprecating to keep it to yourself, because that's where mental illness thrives. Like, it thrives on you in itself, and it thrives on like you not talking about it and seeking therapy or seeking some sort of help. I help can, like, if I'm not saying therapy is for everyone, we all have our, like, it could be going, could be meditating, or practicing yoga, like, could even be going for like a long walk, and I don't know, talk to yourself. Most of those things.
Yeah, and I also feel like that it's also the foods that you eat too. It's because it's called junk food for a reason, because not only is it junk for your body, but it's also junk for your mind as well.
That's it, 100%. Like, I am also a personal trainer, so I'm not doing acting work and starting up companies. I train people to be the best they can in their body, and although I'm not a full-on dietitian, I am quite regimented in what I eat, because I'm aware of that I need fuel, and I need to be able to do a lot of things throughout my day, and also combat this ADHD that I have. So yes, what you put into your body 100% will reflect in your mind and your just general output throughout the day.
Yep, and all of that definitely eventually will catch up.
Yes, yes, it will. And nobody burn out, whether it's in 3 months' time, 6 weeks' time, or a year's time. In fact, the longer like the burnout is pending, the worse the fallout it's gonna be. So
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And and at this day and age, fast food is becoming more and more, commonplace. And I mean, I get it that it's convenient, but but there will be consequences.
yes, that's it. There's always consequences for every type of action, and those consequences might just be that it hits you when you're 60 and you're suddenly able to be mobile, or you've gained a tremendous amount of unhealthy weight, and it's harder for you to lose it now because you haven't got the foundation of the foundation and the motivation to help get you through it. And what and we learn this as being kids as well. When we're kids, you fall over, and unless it's like you've broken a bone, you're normally able to get straight back up, aren't you? And then it's like, ha ha, yeah, it's fun, running around sliding on your knees. Like, I couldn't do that now. Like, if I was to slide on my knees, I'd be in a world of pain. But like, and I'm quite fit and like healthy, but I know there's things that now that I wouldn't be able to get away with when I was a child. Is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. Because as we get older, like our bodies change, and we're not going to always be able to do the things, all those physical things forever.
Completely, completely. So we've got to look after ourselves. If anyone can take anything away from this video, this message, then it's like, let's just look after, be kind to ourselves, like, because we only have like one at the moment, unless AI gets to that crazy point where we can download consciousness. At the moment, we only have one body, and we have one vessel. We should look after it.
Exactly. Yeah. So you mentioned to me that you have your own theater company. How exactly did you get started with that?
How? Okay, that's an interesting question in itself, because massive theatre goer in all aspects. Love improv theatre, love physical theatre, love musical theatre. Probably on at the top of that list. Just love stage theatre. And for a long time now, I've been going to watch shows, especially since I've got into being an actor. Originally, I went to sort of watch the actor. Like, when I'd watch a film or a TV show, I would find myself watching what they're doing and the choices they're making. And it was the same with film. Okay, so that was a new choice. Or, okay, so that you moved like that for a reason. There was an intention behind that. And I got really into like analyzing how like theater was being produced, and got to the point where like I could, this is like a West End. This is what happens on a West End, but this is national theater. This is subsidized theater, so like not commercial. And sort of just seeing how all of these different formats come together, and then eventually I I decided I wanted my own play, and it's a play that's loosely based on me growing up and all that I went to, and then it touches on how theatre wasn't really an option for me, and something that I kind of like, yeah, like frustrated back on. Like I kind of wish that like my school and upbringing was a bit different, because I went to a school where if you were to, if you were like a person of color and you went to do something like theater, or you wanted to do something like singing, or that wasn't basically fitted to the status quo of what essentially my culture is in somebody else's eyes, you'd get like a lot of scrutiny for that, and there would be like oh, like that's not what like should do, or like that's not, like that can be quite difficult, and you growing up biracial. So it was always that's the reason why I was like put off time, because like I was like I wanted to like it was all within me when I was like in school, like I was like, trying to like what just break in song and dance, and I know if I went down that road then I probably would be much further along now, like despite what I said previously that I still have done okay, considering I haven't had the direct access some many people have had, but I have done okay, and in some cases I've done as well maybe margin a little bit better that I have gone to drama school, which I'm grateful for, and I'm very grateful for my opportunity. But the play that I wanted to write basically highlights a younger version of me going into like theatre, and I thought I'd make it a bit more spicy and add some culture in, because there is something that's quite unfortunately aligned with people of color, and I sort of want to try and speak to somebody who was maybe in that type of world, or in that type of realm, and be like the moral of the story, or like the main body of the story is, you don't have to do what that person says. You can do the thing that you do, and either way, whether you do it or do it, you're black either way. Like, and that is like the bottom line. Is like, that's just how you're born, unfortunately. So no one can take that away from you just because you like to sing, you like to dance, or act, or even if you want to ballet. Like, all of these things have nothing to do with your race or your skin. And also the story is, don't into the general stereotype like that they have been bestowed onto us, like, you know. And I understand it's hard at that time, because you have all this peer pressure around you, and everyone young, you just want to fit in. And a hook in the theatre is, it's the working title at the moment, because the main character, as I'm writing it, is going to probably be myself. He was in a group called, and that's sort of like the point. It's like the hood in the theatre, and they had this sort of like, oh, I'm doing this thing that isn't really good, but I'm in this group and I've got respect, so I'm going to do this until it starts. He finds theatre, starts to want to express himself more in that, and then that becomes a bit more of a dramatic story as it unfolds, where like he has his sort of like right hand man, best friend Michael, who again is a bit of a complicated character. Like, he's not inherently a bad person. He just happens to run like the gang and is best with the protagonist, and kind of doesn't mind his friend, because there's like elements where I show this, they have this friendship where like, yeah, you should do it, like, or like he supports him, and there is rules. That's essentially what gang culture can be. And as I was writing this play, I came into contact with somebody who wanted to help me do fundraising, and we were in the middle of a fundraising process, and we still are. And I started to like, more ideas started to come into my head. Like, I started to want to do one called Livestock, which is about the transfer market. Then there was another. I'm writing one called The Ensemble, a story about being in a where the ensemble is the main cast, and that was kind of like, from what my experience watching theatre, how like the ensemble sometimes be left in the background, and we don't realize that they're actually a big part in why that show looks good. So, and then I started having all these ideas, and all things that I want to create, and then decided that if I was going to create all of these things, and in the middle of creating at least 4 of these projects, that I should probably have them all under one umbrella. And that is where Black and Theatre was born, because originally it's actually a friendship group that I'm in, where like me and my friends who happen to be black, like, we all like to go to the theatre together and enjoy watching theatre. I am biracial, so I am black. And when I was thinking of a company name, I was like, well, you've already got it, mate. Like, it's already literally there in black and white, like right in front of you. Like, you have your company name, have you have a boss, have your business. So let's launch it and let's make Blackened Theatre a registered thing, and let's start producing original theatre. But so we will put on plays that can reflect the company as well. So if friends of mine are writers, directors, and have not even friends, people that want to put theatre out in the world, the script, and it's something that I think vibe with the company, or it has like a solid message, or there's some give back that can come from it, then yeah, with production. And I decided to wear a net, and suddenly became this artistic where again we have gained a little bit of track. A few people seem, and I have every bit of faith that it's going to go somewhere, because the same thing happened with acting, and I'm fairly confident that Black and White Theatre has a foot ground thing.
Yeah, wow, that really is a lot, and yeah, thank you for sharing all that. And yeah, you mentioned fundraising, which is very common, like for theater and filmmaking. But what I've also seen, like some theaters do to help get funding for their plays, is that I also have seen that they'll get sponsorships from like banks and hospitals and so on and so forth. But if you ever want to, you always could like get a hold of those facilities and see if they would be interested in sponsoring it.
Yeah, no, thank you for that, and that's a really good idea. I guess it's finding the right ones that are like that align with ethos and ethics, because I guess I wouldn't want to take money from someone who isn't ethical, but that's a really helpful tip. So thank you very much.
Oh yeah, certainly. But yeah, I definitely thought that you would greatly appreciate it. But yeah, since that I live really not too far, like from a theater, and every time I drive by, it always says, "Oh, sponsored by so and so facility." And so yeah, and so I definitely thought that you would appreciate that info.
Yes, no, I do, and it's something I'll probably look into almost simultaneously as this ends, because yep, I'm very passionate about paying people. I don't want us to have to register as necessarily have to register as a charity, because I think that limits us on where we can go. In terms, definitely in terms of profit and helping like the fear to become more wider and known, as I have the vision for it. And first and foremost, everyone that works for this company has to pay. Like it's crazy because it's all of these extra things I have, and I'm not just an artistic director. I'm like producing the theatre to some extent, well, to every extent, but at some point I'm gonna reach a point where like I would need to bring in a directors, dramaturgs, because I wouldn't be able to. But one man be able to do the whole thing. I understand that people don't, and people can't, and people shouldn't be doing things for free. So definitely funding right now is what's going to help support these people able to do the job, but also live.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Because it's absolutely fair that if they're going to invest their time into what you are doing, it's absolutely fair, to compensate them like for their time. And I mean, for some people, it's a labor of love, and that's fine if somebody wants to do it that way. But most people would be compensated like for their time, considering that they will never get that time back.
Yes, totally, and that's like part of like our like business plan, our business compass is like I want because I feel better about myself if people are being for their craft and honored for their work. But two, I feel like it works almost in tandem as well. Like they're more likely to recommend black and white theatre and Kieron as the CEO because they had an enjoyable working experience. They were paid for what they did, and they're more likely to recommend and help the brand grow. So I just being good and paying people for what they do, it can have benefits for me as a business owner where it can help me grow.
Yeah, exactly. And and then if you pay them, the chances of them wanting to work with you again are going to be a lot higher.
Yeah, 100%. Like, unless it's like your passion project, like you said, and in which case I would still probably want to offer something, at least say that I offered. But yeah, that someone is most likely going to work with someone again that's paid them one time, paid them what they said they were going to pay them, or what they asked for, because negotiations will happen later down the line. Someone might say a price that I can't afford, or vice versa. I might say a price that is too low, and it's getting to that middle point where like we're like, okay, let's you say this, now I say that. Okay, you said this, now I say, let's see if we can make an agreement. Hopefully, we can hand. We will. It won't just be a handshake. We will do contracts just so that everyone has security, and sort of shows that loyalty on my part. Like, I've myself into this by signing that piece of paper legal. Like it means I have to honor like these. Otherwise, well, you could sue me. There's nobody. But then vice versa, what is expected from you, and it's all thumbs up. It's just how business has to work. Right? Otherwise, you can get screwed over. And there might be some scenarios where it doesn't have to be like a contract practice. Like that can be a bit daunting on some people, but then a solid agreement would have to be in place to sort of counteract that because I wouldn't want someone running away with one of the six that they hide their name to, and then I see it like 2 years later somewhere else, and I'm like, wow, okay, now that is there then.
Yeah, exactly. You definitely want to make sure that that you have that communication in, because if there's any communication breakdowns, like if there's any miscommunication or misunderstandings, which I mean sometimes they are inevitable, they'll happen regardless. But I mean, you still do want to try to avoid those as much as possible. But hey, but if they do happen, just it's all a matter about how you respond to it.
Yes, you got to be as grown as you can, as well presented as you can, and realize that like if you blow your gasket or lose your temper and start using bad language, like that, even if you are in your right to an extent because you've been screwed over, like it's still going to reflect on you as a company owner, and that's still going to drip feed into like the other people within the industry. And with the way social media is nowadays, like something can get taken out, something you say can get taken out of context so easy, blown into massive proportions, and then you're cancelled before you even started.
Exactly. Yeah. And, and that's one of the things where social media is both a blessing and a curse. It's definitely a blessing about how it's made it easier to keep in touch with people and and all that good stuff. But one of the huge dark sides to it is that, something that you say or did can easily be taken out of context. And I mean, I see that happen a lot of times with all these articles, or either that or they'll be straight up false. a good example is how there was this article going around saying that, oh, Universal Studios is going to be making another live action remake of The Grinch, like with Jim Carrey reprising his role. I'm like, what would be the point to it since Jim Carrey already did it once? So that would be so pointless. And then I did research and I fact checked that and I found out that no, that's not true. So yeah, it really goes to show the significance about how it's really important, to fact check, what you see online. And yeah, and even going back to what you said about COVID, there was a lot of misinformation going around about that as well. And yeah, and I mean, ultimately, moral of the story, boys and girls, is always be sure to fact check.
100%. And I did see that Gary Grinch thing. It's like, yeah, but again, kind of like you, like, what's the point? Like, I like Jim Carrey, he's great, but
Yeah,
everything he's in makes me laugh, like Truman Show quality. But why? At least make call it The Grinch 2, and it would be a different story, right? That would, or a follow-on
right.
story that makes sense than to just completely redo it. They are doing a Grinch now, aren't they? From the cinema to watch Super trailer.
Yeah, that's from what I've heard. Now I'm taking it with a grain of salt. I don't want to just go, oh, I saw it on the internet, therefore it's true. I'm trying to proceed with caution. And now, if that is true, that they are doing a Grinch 2 with Jim Carrey, that I think would be a much better idea, like than just another remake like with Jim Carrey, because what would be the point going back to what we said? But yeah, so anyways, about the Grinch though, a lot of people actually have turned that into a theater show, which I could definitely see that. Grinch is definitely perfect. What I like for theater. So I guess out of curiosity, like for your theater company, have you ever thought about turning that into a show?
But turning the Grinch into it, yeah.
Yes.
Not until this conversation, no, because I guess I hadn't thought about it. But one thing I was quite interested in doing was, and I know I would be able to because of copyright, but I was quite interested in trying to make a Pirates of the Caribbean adaptation.
Yeah.
But it obviously couldn't be called Pirates of the Caribbean because, yeah.
Yeah.
But
I mean, unless if you raise enough money, like where you got permission, like from Disney about it, because there is a theater in my area, like that actually has done a few Disney shows, like they did Beauty and the Beast and also Frozen, like even as one that they did more recently. So yeah, so I guess if you raise enough money, certainly, yeah, you can. But I mean, I guess your loophole around Pirates of the Caribbean. I mean, pirates in of themselves are absolutely public domain, and so if you want to do something like Pirates of the Caribbean, you could. But I mean, kind of like what you said, you just can't call the Captain Jack Sparrow. You can't use anything from the movies themselves. So yeah, you could do a pirate play, and yeah, and the good news is uh, you know, there are a lot of really, well-known IPs like that are in the public domain, like such as Winnie the Pooh, for example, which is ironic because I actually met you through Natasha, and of course, Natasha Rose Mills is best known for being in the Winnie the Pooh horror movie, and that got made simply because Winnie the Pooh went into the public domain. I never ever thought that I ever would say out loud in a sentence that we have a Winnie the Pooh horror movie.
yeah, that's very true, and that's also true. Is there are ways around it, and I guess raising money is one. I imagine probably a tremendous amount of money, or at least a substantial amount of money to get the rights. But you again, I guess the more inventive way would be to write an authentic script about pirates that also happens to be a musical. isn't Pirates of the Caribbean, and we steer away from that story as much as possible.
Yeah, and there's also some other properties that have become public domain, such as the original Mickey Mouse cartoon actually hit public domain. But yeah, I mean, you just have to be very specific that it's the Steamboat Willie Mickey Mouse, and all of the other incarnations you absolutely cannot use. And I also know Dracula's public domain, and a lot of people have turned that into plays, which makes sense because Dracula, the book's in the public domain. The original Frankenstein book, yeah, that's in the public domain. And yeah, and I mean, people have been doing plays of that for the longest time. And I also know Aladdin, not the Disney version, but the very original story is public domain. It's just the catch is with the genie, he just cannot be, he just cannot be blue, since that, that's what the Disney version made. That's what the Disney version made popular. But I just kind of feel like if you did an Aladdin play where the genie is not blue, I feel like that, because that the Robin Williams version is so iconic and it's just so beloved, that if you did Aladdin without the genie being blue, that I feel like that might throw general audiences off.
That's very true. I mean, purple is probably the closest you could do.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
And yeah, it's also going back to what you said earlier. It's our mutual link is Natasha, and yeah, you are right. I didn't expect there to be a horror Winnie the Pooh, and here we are. Things change over time, and maybe I could do Dracula of the Caribbean.
Yeah. you know, now that you say that, I never would have thought of that idea. But, now that you say that, I mean, it definitely can catch people's attention.
Yeah, like instead of them turning into their their vampires.
Which, now that you say that, there is a scene in the original Dracula book, like where he actually does attack people on a boat. So, and it does remind me that there was a Dracula movie not too long ago called, I think it was Last Voyage of the Demeter. So yeah, well, like it's based off of that segment from the Dracula book where he attacks those people on that boat. So, now that I think about it more, maybe that won't be too far fetched.
Okay, I'm writing that down. And
Yeah, yeah. See, it's the power of brainstorming, huh?
indeed, and just a better idea to hopefully showcase, because yeah, I guess, and ultimately going back to the question of like, no, I haven't thought about doing the Grinch, but I'm definitely about doing other things now, and I can't say nothing too much because I haven't sat down and had a meeting. But there's a play that I would like to do that my friend has already done and took to the West End, and I would very much like to sit down with them over coffee and discuss whether they would mind us putting it on, because it's already done quite well, and I feel like we could work together and definitely be a good Kickstarter for the company's first live production.
Oh yeah, certainly so. And yeah, and and as far as doing the Grinch goes, I mean, that one would definitely sell at around Christmas time because it can appeal to the families. But yeah, if you raise enough money, well, like from all of your other plays, it's definitely possible.
Yeah, no, right. And maybe that's what we could do next year, because it's probably a bit, well, no, it's definitely it's definitely too soon to do it this year. But it's achievable for next year, especially if we've got a few projects off the ground. They've sold well, and I'm a good business owner and don't dip into my funds too quickly. Well, assuming that there is profit, but like,
Hmm.
it's always smart when you're starting a business to at least wait 6 months before start giving yourself like a paycheck. because you want the brand to grow, and it's probably a bit different in theatre because you probably ain't producing theatre every month. So whereas like if you were doing, I don't know, a different type of business where monthly income, you can probably start money within 6 months. We would probably have only done 2 productions within time, realistically, depending on what
Mhm.
they go for, whether they're like already in plays that we put that already have like a cast, or if they're being born from R&Ds, funded, and then rehearsals, and then the actual show, and got to do all again. Like these things take time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so on, then therefore, if you're going to be running your own theater company, which it sounds like that you do, which is great. I mean, you definitely need to have that background in business, and I mean, of course, it is great to do what you want to do, but yet we also have to remember at the end of the day, it is a business, and so therefore, you have got to understand how business works. So
Yes, and it's another thing to add to my list, which causes sleepless nights because I'm constantly making sure that that I know how to produce theatre, that I know, but then also how I know how to run a theatre business, and all the additional work that's actually involved for me, especially if I don't employ people to do certain things, I'm gonna have to do them, and yeah, being a CEO is hard work.
it is, but like the saying goes, hard work always pays off.
Yes, 100%, and I think it will. Like I'm quite fortunate that there's people that be involved already. I got meetings on Thursday to discuss a couple of things. I've got things in the pipeline, whether it's things that I'm writing or things I'm gonna have written, or just already stand in place. So I feel like as long as I'm transparent with everybody and I work as hard as I'm working at the minute, we will reap the benefits of our reward. Yeah, or
Yeah, yeah,
so, but that's not really a bad thing.
yeah, yeah. I would say that that sounds about right. And so if anybody were to come see any of your plays, if you wouldn't mind to share, where exactly could people go watch your shows?
Good question. So Bristol based, Bristol, England. So that would, in a nutshell, that would be where you want to come to watch a black theatre play. But we have every intention and endeavour to be making it to the West End and hopefully Broadway. So if you're ever coming past a little town called Bristol, not a town, we're a city. And there's a lot of history within our city as well, both good and bad. But you might be time to watch a production. Otherwise, stay tuned because we will push to the West End and we will push to Broadway. So maybe you can't come to Blackham Theatre, but Blackham Theatre has every intention to come to you.
Awesome, yeah, and and it's definitely a really good idea business wise. I like to really expand upon your horizons. Since that it's just the way how it works. It's that just not everybody is going to be located, over where you're at, and it's kind of like with McDonald's. There isn't just one McDonald's. There's one throughout the entire world. And so therefore, if you want to go to one in Broadway, you certainly could. If you wanted to go to one in Australia, you could, and so forth. Because the more you expand upon your horizons, the more and more people are going to be aware of it.
100%. Like we want to grow accessible for everyone. We want everyone to have a chance to see work that we do. and we're gonna definitely push to endeavor to achieve that as much as possible. And maybe that's in 2 years, maybe that in 7. But no matter what, that we're not gonna stop. We're not gonna stop now. And as the time goes by, I hopefully we'll be more healthy and we'll be able to keep building on our audience.
Exactly. Yeah. And, and it will take time, yes, but at the same time, every successful person always will tell you that, that the way how as to how they rose, to all that is that they were patient and that and that it took them time. And I mean, heck, even Natasha even said the exact same thing is that, it's something that does take time. And, and patience definitely is a virtue.
Patience is definitely a virtue, and it's definitely something that I'm very quickly learning. ADHD people don't tend to cope too well with patience because we're quite impulsive and like things to be done like now, or need things to be done now, maybe is like the more accurate the neurodivergence within us. But I'm having to combat that with this because one, you can't produce theatre overnight. You already had something ready to go. Like there are still steps that you need. You need to find the space if you don't have your own space. Again, like you wouldn't be able to put tomorrow because you would want to build traction to it. So
Mm-hmm.
a decent audience. So then one that the performance gets to perform in front of a decent crowd, but then two, company make ideally profit.
Yeah, certainly. And so, yeah, and so if anybody were to want to keep tabs about your theater company, where exactly could they do all that?
So if they wanted to keep tabs on the theatre company, at the moment we're on Instagram. We are in the middle of building a website, and that should be going live within the next month or two. But our Instagram is Black and White Theatre, but that's black dot and dot white dot theatre, as they wouldn't put the other way. So
Awesome. Yeah. And I mean, just for my audience can be aware, as of recording this, it's now early September 2025. And then if anybody watches this and if he says in a month from now, because, people can watch this at any time, I don't want people to be confused. And so, yeah. And so, and if anyone's watching this, after September of this year, or even next year, or even so and so time afterwards, definitely by then the website should. But yeah, definitely by then the website should be up.
yes, that's correct. It's in the middle of being built, and I can't see it would take any longer. The person actually making it is a friend of mine, so I would definitely think within, from what they've said, 2 months, and the website will be up and running. But for the time being, for all of the things that we're doing, we will be on Instagram, and that's Black and White Theatre, just full stops in between the words.
Awesome. Yeah. And I mean, definitely should be really glad that you have that friend, well, like who's really, like who's very knowledgeable about that because, I mean, maybe if I was taught it properly, I could do it, but if I tried to do it completely on my own without any help, I wouldn't know what in the world that I was doing. And so yeah, and so you definitely, but I mean, I'm pretty sure that you are, but yeah, definitely be thankful that you have that resource.
Oh, 100%. One of I bask in the most is like get by help from your friends, and I truly love that. Like friends, I need them so much, and I appreciate them so much, and I'm lucky to have so many talented friends that can also help the ground. Pretty.
Oh yeah, certainly. And, and friends always want to see their friends succeed at what it is that they want to do.
Yeah, that's beautiful, isn't it? Like,
Oh, it is. Yeah. But anyways, that about does her. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. Before that, before that I end this, are there any final things that you would want my audience to be aware of about your theater company?
um, I guess we've covered a lot. Honestly, if you are watching this and you can follow us on Instagram to help build the page and just get involved with any of the posts that we're doing, just to help us grow as much as we can, that would be greatly appreciated. I know none of you know me and have no reason to, but if you could follow us, that would be amazing. And lastly, just to thank you, Eric, for giving me this opportunity to essentially take my company international. Like,
Oh yeah, sir. Oh yeah, certainly. So it really is my pleasure, and I mean, it's my first time ever promoting a theater company. Since oftentimes I have promoted other people's movies, and I have done a few books here and there. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely good to expand upon theater companies, and yeah, and I mean, as a filmmaker myself, I mean, I totally get it. When you do any kind of project, regardless if it's theater, filmmaking, or whichever, I mean, it takes effort, it takes time, and it's a lot of work, and oftentimes money goes into it. Nobody wants to have any of that go to waste, and so I like to do what I can, just to show my support, and help to get the word out about the projects that they're doing. A lot of people complain about how, oh, there's no original ideas. Actually, yes, there are. It's just that you vote with your wallet, and it really is all about the support, because all these big names, such as what we said, like Grinch, Frozen, Aladdin, and so on and so forth, they didn't always have that name value. They all got to where they're at now simply because that they got support. And so, and now granted, I can't promise, that they will get to that level, like of being recognized. But hey, but even the smallest amount of support can make a huge difference.
that's it, 100%.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, thank
But,
you.
but anyways, yeah, you and I definitely will keep in touch. And yeah, and thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be here.
You're welcome. I hope you have a nice rest of your day, and I'm off to the theater tonight. So,
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I certainly hope that you'll have a fantastic time there.
always do. Thank you.
Of course. You have a fantastic day.